So I'm just gluing up this headstock, which was broken. I've taped off the areas where I don't want to get epoxy onto, and epoxy is not appropriate for every job, but it is appropriate for this. This is a sort of poly classical and African mahogany. So I've just blobbed. My method is I open up the crack as much as I dare and then blob glue into it this way, and then when I apply pressure it squeezes out. And so if you rock this back and forth, the glue, the epoxy wicks down into the furthest area, and you can see that up in here. Maybe you can't actually. Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to show it, but the crack goes into this area here, and when the epoxy starts to bleed out of the furthest area, you know you've got full penetration. And you can also see it on the side here. So this is the end of the crack, and you can see the glue oozing out of the very end of that crack. So now I'm going to just clean up the bulk and clamp it down. Okay, here's the classical guitar with the headstock that I epoxied back together. And this is a cheapish poly finished classical, so if it was a proper well-made instrument I'd be using hide glue or something else. But after I wicked in the epoxy, it should have come together nicely. Hopefully I can get this shit off in under a minute because of the restriction on video on Instagram. I'm going to have to do another video. So second video, I've just removed most of the tape, and you can see that this has gone back together really perfectly. And there's just a small amount of epoxy to clean up. I can't even see the crack here apart from the crack in the finished epoxy. But the just wicking that epoxy in and then strapping it up with that cord really works wonders. So you just scrape this back to flush and then sand, it'll be perfect. So just refining this area. I've worked on this area. You can see there's a bit of a lip here. I wouldn't call it a hair lip, it's just a normal lip. So just scraping this back with a sharp new razor blade. Because I've never met an old sharp razor blade. And then a bit of 400. And naphtha, and that is a nice fix. And that's epoxy. Sometimes an epoxy line comes out a lot darker, but this just went back to where it should be perfectly, so it looks great. Classical neck back together, and let's see, that transition is perfect. Nice. And it's just epoxy, sanded to about 1,000, 1,200, and buffed.